Okay, so we've asked you to do some slower running than you're used to. After you got your metabolic test results, or as you get your metabolic test results, you'll find that we probably asked you to slow down a little bit. Now, I know that seems a little bit crazy, and a lot of people have a hard time with this at first, but there's a good reason for it. So, one of the things that we've found out with the metabolic testing, right, is that we actually build endurance and burn fat better at those low intensities. But a lot of the questions is how do I do that? How do I start out running so slow? And for a lot of you, it may be that you're not even running at first. And so that's okay. Be patient with it. Let it build over time, and you'll find that your slow gets faster and faster and faster, and eventually you're running again. And you can even get to where you're running fast, relatively, for your slow. We see that with world-class athletes, that their slow is actually really fast for the rest of us, but relatively it's pretty slow. The average marathon winner actually runs 80% of their mileage around 2 minutes slower than their actual race pace. So the bulk of their mileage is actually relatively easy for them. And that's because they built up their ability to run that fast for that long, and their ability to burn fat at such a high heart rate range and so efficiently that their slow is actually pretty fast. So how do you do that then? Honestly, a walk jog is probably the way a lot of people will start, and that's okay. Really, to track your heart rate and to look at that and watch and see, I'm gonna, jog for as much as I can until my heart rate starts to get too high, and then I'm gonna walk. And then you jog again until it gets to that border, and then you walk. And so you wanna, at first it may be a lot of kind of stopping and starting with walking and jogging. As you get into it, as your body gets used to that slower pace, you'll be able to sustain that for longer. And then you'll find that it's almost like difficult at that pace and that kind of effort level to get your heart rate up as high, and you're going to have to, push a little bit harder to keep your heart rate that high. That's what we're looking for, and it's not a bad time to come in and retest, because what we're going to find is that your heart rate limit for that same amount of fat burn has probably gone up. So we definitely want to, with the slow running, we still want that 20% of high intensity, right? We want to polarize the training like we've talked about. And that 20% is what's going to help you get faster and faster and faster and make your slow faster as well. But you've got to put in the time and have the patience to run slow. And like I said, it may be a walk jog, or it may be a jog run, where you back off to way slower than what you're used to. It may be a 10 or 12 minute mile, or even, walking. But that's okay, you're gonna be fine. Although cognitively you feel like you don't get quite the same workout out of it, that's partially the point. We want you to be able to go again and again, day after day after day, so that you are more likely to be consistent because you feel less beat up. You also tend to get more mileage in that way over time because you're able to do more successive days of exercise, and you're more likely to be more active throughout the rest of your day. If we have a really hard run or a hard workout, we're more likely to be sedentary for the rest of the day because we kind of earned that couch time or whatever because we already worked out. Whereas if we do a slower, more steady workout in our zone 2 and burn that fat, we actually tend to have a lot more energy for the rest of our day, and we are more likely to be active. So, coming home and going on a walk with spouse or kids, or, doing an activity, a sport, something else like that, we're more likely to do those things because we have more gas in the tank, and we're more ready for the next day's workout as well. So running slow really is important. It's hard to do sometimes, but if you stick to it, I promise it'll pay dividends. But the key to doing it is then just being patient, slowing down, and being okay with walking or jogging, but listening to your body on a day-to-day basis, understanding that those changes that will happen from day to day, when yesterday I was able to run this pace and my heart rate was fine, and today I can't. That's your body responding to stresses, to dehydration, to sleep, to all the other things that add load onto your body, and your heart rate reflects that. And so listening to your body, watching that heart rate and running slow, staying in that zone 2 for 80% of the time really is going to pay off big time in the long run. So one of the things that you should expect then as you're working on this slow training is that it's going to take a minimum of about 6 weeks before you really see a big change, before you really see those numbers bump up. So within 2 weeks, it should be feeling a little more normal, but still slow. Within 4 weeks, you should start feeling fairly comfortable at that slow pace and starting to feel like you're having to work a little harder, like we said. And by 6 weeks, you should have seen some bit of change that you're able to go a little bit faster for your slow. And then between 6 and 10 weeks, you really see like, I need to retest because it feels like my numbers are off. That's really common. And so that's kind of the timeline that you should expect with building that up.